Associates Insurance Group TerpTalk with Bruce Posner. 60 minutes of Terps and athletics and your phone calls at 866-950-5225. Now from the CBS Radio Studios in Baltimore, here's your host, Bruce.
I hope somebody who's with Sasha on the way home stayed with him, because this had to be one of the worst nights in his athletic career as a coach because of what happened yesterday. What an utterly devastating loss in the semis of the College Cup. Give the Hoyas credit. I mean, this kid Newman was fantastic, but Maryland just came out flat, made a game of it, and in soccer, you just never know what happens. And just the disappointing penalty kicks and disappointing last play when maybe Patrick Mullins was yanked down, and just the announcing on TV, having to watch it, was just tore me up. They were so pro Georgetown, which is fine, I can deal with it. But I think they missed how great Patrick Mullins was last night. And yes, Steve Neumann was fantastic, there's no doubt, but Patrick was his equal, or if not better, creating more chances. But this is Bruce Posner. This is a sad Bruce Posner today. You're listening to Kelly Associates Insurance Group TerpTalk with my man Wayne Viener from Viener Consulting in the house today. Wayne, what's your quick 30-second take?
Well, Maryland didn't really show up till there was about 20 minutes left to go in the game. But boy, when Maryland showed up, they made a game out of it. I'm sure my neighbors could hear us outside of the house. We were screaming and yelling like it was a Maryland-Duke basketball game. It was a great last 20 minutes. Cristiano Francois was blazing.
My man!
My man! I know he's your man. And I thought we had it won, even in the PKs. I was waiting for the golden goal, and then we got up in the penalty kicks, and I figured, okay, we got them. We're going to eke this out. And then there were two kids laying on the floor about ready to cry, and I was just sitting there stunned that it was over. The whole season's over.
Well, I have something to say to my man Danny Mata from Great Seats. I was working, could not get out of work till like about 6 o'clock. I knew I had the game TiVoed. So I figured I'd get my dinner, go home, and enjoy the night, watch Maryland get to the finals. So around 7:15, Freddy had called me and a few other friends had called, so I knew something was going on with his game, but I didn't really know. I didn't answer any calls. And then I get a text from Danny around 7:30 or whenever the game ended, and it was wow. Now wow normally means to me that we won, all right? So I'm watching the whole thing, just waiting for the golden goal to go in or waiting for the penalty kicks, and then boom, the ending was cold. It was cold. The last shot by Helga, right at him. It was right at the goalie. I know that's not what he meant to do. I would assume that, but you have a 2-1 lead. I'd say you probably win that game in a penalty kick situation 8 times out of 10. I mean, when you're up 2-1 in the fourth kick, all you need is one save or one goal, and it goes on.
And I was hoping we were going to get that one save, and we're not here to speak negatively of any college kids, but Cardona didn't have the best game he's ever played.
Tough game for Keith. It's hard to say. The play where he kicked the ball into the other player,
which it sounded to me like a blocked punt in a football
you have to
game.
give the other player, you have to give Georgetown credit for attack.
Well, that's usually the Maryland game plan, and they sort of turn the tables on us for the first.
Well, Maryland never really
minutes.
stopped attacking, but the passing wasn't there. The passing wasn't crisp. And then the ultimate indignity about the game is the Washington Post calls the game the Mid-Atlantic Classic. Yeah, it was a great game. It really was one of the best soccer games I ever saw, but I wonder how that page would have been different had Maryland won.
Oh, probably would have been buried on D3. Alex Pruitt would have had a story on it as a little byline.
Well, Alex wasn't there. Someone else was there. But I don't know. It was just a tough loss because here's the bottom line. Maryland had been 28-0 against Georgetown.
Well, that's tough to take that streak's over.
All right, and all the stuff that's gone down between Maryland and Georgetown in the past few years. And, it's funny. Last week, on one of your interviews with someone, you said that Maryland's playing Georgetown. They have to go down to Alabama to play the game.
Yeah, I asked everybody I talked to, ever played in Alabama before, and the only person who did was Shilo Shuma, who played in the All-American game last year.
I don't know what to say, but Cristiano Francois, his shot in the first overtime was something special. And wow, to the goalie, the Gomez or whoever made a just incredible save as the ball was winding into the corner of the net. This takes us back to last Saturday at 5 o'clock when Maryland utterly destroyed Louisville in a contest that wasn't a contest, and keyed by the return of Taylor Kemp. And you saw it yesterday that with Taylor Kemp back, albeit he did miss a penalty kick, but with Taylor Kemp back, this was a different team on attack. I thought the attack was as good as I've seen it the entire year, remembering you're playing one of the best teams in the country.
It was a very balanced attack that could go to the left side or the right side with Kemp playing one side and Francois on the other. It really balances out the attack. You don't know where it's going to come from next. From
Well, Sturzer to Mullins to Shilo Shuma for the first goal. That was just, it was like, it looked like a pinball. The ball, head to head to goal. It was unreal, the first goal.
Right. For those who don't watch a lot of soccer, it's like watching a old Celtics fast break. The ball moves with Maryland. It's a thing of beauty. And I guess that's Sasha's big quote after the game was, "It's beautiful and it's painful." It's not a direct quote, but boy, the ending, God, the ending came so fast that suddenly the season's over and we spent all these months and it's building and building. I love that Maryland got to the Final Four, but Bruce rightly pointed out that this wasn't a trip to the Final Four. This was a trip to the national championship.
This was a championship team. This was a championship caliber team. I honestly believe it might have been the greatest Maryland team ever. Why? The depth on this team was incredible. Now you asked me before the game, before the show started about, Sasha, used some people he hadn't used. And one of the things about that, I do believe, I don't know if he was maybe pacing the team a little bit, because you had to win to get to the championship game. But I think you had to use the way to play that 2-game situation is you've got to use your bench. You just can't leave your 10 guys out there. Well, Sasha doesn't have 10 guys. He's got 15 guys. So he can use that in his mind. He can interchange, he can substitute, he can do what he wants. And I think that might have played into it a little bit. But when you score 4 goals, what are you doing wrong? I mean, defensively there were some lapses for sure.
Well, maybe we pressed too much. I don't know what happened the first couple minutes. We had the game and then it absolutely got away from us. Once again, speaking about basketball, much like when Maryland made the NCAA run, we would get down by 20 and come back. Well, being down like Maryland was last night was like being down 20 in a soccer game, in a basketball game, and we come out blazing, and I don't know what button got pushed to turn us on. You brought this up before, Bruce, when we played teams in the regular season, that sometimes we just didn't get going till we had to. And
yeah, it was a lot of the second half. The depth really ran into other teams into the ground, and they kind of woke up in the second half, and wow, you can't do that in a semifinal game. Sasha said it's very difficult to cope with the reality that we are not advancing. This was, in my view, the greatest semifinal in the history of college soccer. I love my team. It was a classic game. We're going to get better from that game. We've got some great young talent. We're going to begin the process of getting back to next year's College Cup immediately. Wow, it takes a hell of a guy to say that. Even to talk to anybody after that game. It was, the losses, I know I'm talking to a DC audience, so I don't know how popular Georgetown soccer is. I don't know if they draw 7,000 people like Maryland does.
They might have drawn a total of 7,000 people this year.
Well, you can't say that without checking, but I really don't know. But soccer has a tremendous meaning at Maryland because they've been there, was their 12th College Cup, 3 national championships, and I don't know what to say except it had to be a long plane ride home this morning, and I hope they were able to leave and not have to stick around.
So what do you think of the...
I don't even know who won the second game.
I don't either. That was it. That ball doesn't go in for Maryland. I turn the TV off. What do you think of the Maryland fans, the crew that made the trip down there?
Well, let me tell you something about the crew. The crew is the heart and soul of this team. And they're there every year, and they have as much fun, and they've established a bond probably as much or maybe even more so than the players on the team. For these kids, they didn't fly down there. You know, I checked the flight. I don't know about you, but I was going to start hammering you. As I feel we're going to win, I kind of went over to Southwest just to see how bad it would be on a one-day round trip.
I would have been there.
And
if
it
you
was
asked.
it was pretty bad. It was about $1,100.
I probably wouldn't have been there even if you asked.
But it was about $1,100 probably, which would have kept me away as well. But these kids, you know, drove down to Alabama. It's got to be a 10-hour, 12-hour ride. And for the game, they were there chanting the entire game. And when the Terrapins won the ACC championship, Sasha, and rightly so, took the entire team into the crowd with the crew, took a picture, and I'm sure that's a picture that's near and dear to his heart. He loves those kids. They stay in touch with him. It's almost like players to him, and they are an integral part of this program. They turn the games on when you're there. They really turn on the entire crowd, and they make Ludwig an impossible place to play. And I want to tell you something. You know, if you look back at it, maybe there's just too much at Ludwig. I mean, when you have an opportunity to have a game in front of 7,000 people or have a game in front of 800 people, TV, sports, everything opts for playing the games at Ludwig. Because it seems like it's a big deal, and it is a big deal. You know what parking is that day.
Yeah.
You know how you say to yourself, I wonder if I better buy my tickets just in case it sells out.
Absolutely. And maybe that makes the case to bring the Final Four to Germantown.
Well, they would love that, but here's the bottom line. I think you're going to see Sasha maybe slap in a few real tough road games. Maybe it'll hurt our ranking a little bit, you know, but I would like to, besides the ACC, which is coming to an end, maybe slap in at the end of the year. He does it at the beginning of the year. He'll play Louisville on the road or UCLA or go out west. Maybe toward the end of the year, slap a few, you know, get them bad, you know, tested for those situations. I can't think of any other thing to second guess because the team is phenomenal and it took an unbelievable effort by the Hoyas. Congratulations to them. And, you know, I hope they win the championship. I think it would be great to set up a potential rivalry right within town.
You think we're ever going to play them again in the regular season? You think this...
Well, I know Sasha wants to now after losing to him, and I'm sure the Georgetown coach is dying for it too. All right, because you want to draw at Georgetown soccer? Bring Maryland in. You know, bring them in. I mean, and I guarantee you, you'll have 5,000, 6,000 people.
Well, you like playing at Loyola in lacrosse because we jammed the place in Baltimore.
Well, I know the reason why I love that game. Again, this is Bruce Posner. You're listening to Kelly Associates Insurance Group TerpTalk. The reason why I love that game at Loyola this year is because two reasons. Number one, Loyola's got a tremendous following in Baltimore, but so does Maryland. And I think it helps in recruiting. All right, you've got nothing to lose. You're playing the defending national champion who's favored to win again. Who cares if you lose? It's not going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form.
Isn't it ironic that we have Loyola in lacrosse and we've now got Georgetown in soccer? We're all within 40 miles of each other, and it's the same scenario. If we could get to play at Georgetown, the Terps would pack that multi-use field up on the hilltop, and it would be fantastic to have an in-town road game.
Yeah, I think that it's I love when, you know, when the Terps go to UMBC, and it is UMBC's biggest game of the year, along with Hopkins and lacrosse. And then last year I drove out to Mount St. Mary's, when the men's lacrosse team went out there. And I want to tell you, you couldn't put a sardine in that place, there were so many people. So, you know, when you have a show, what do you do with this show? You take the show on the road. It's like the Heat. Wherever the Heat goes, wherever LeBron goes, it's the show. You know, and the other night when LeBron came to
Verizon Center.
Well, surprisingly, that game wasn't sold out, which is scary. And there's LeBron on the cover of SI. And LeBron knows that he's got to bring his game every time he plays. Because that's why people are paying to get in. And he knows that. And he's a great guy. And he had a triple-double, and the Heat still lost, but the Heat's just, it's kicks for them until the playoffs come.
Right.
I don't know how we got to the Heat, but...
Well, I guess talking about the humidity's just too
all right,
much to say.
15 minutes about the soccer loss. It kind of reminded me of when Maryland lost to Michigan State, when the kid hit the three-point, and I was on the floor for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, last night, I was so stunned, I just put my head on the sofa and looked at the ceiling for about 10 minutes. Heartbroken. Let's head out to our first break. Before we do, Wayne, tell them about Viener Consulting.
Well, Viener Consulting is the place to turn if you want to take a look at the new Windows operating system, Windows 8. I'm sure you've all seen the ads about the Surface, which is their tablet-like platform. Windows 8 also runs great on your PC. If you're taking your business into the future, Viener Consulting is a great place to learn about Windows 8 and all the new software from Microsoft. You can